and welcome back to the Honor Space and an edition of NXT Out of 10. We're quickly approaching Evolution on July 13th, and NXT is having to kind of set up the big Jane versus Grace title match, and this week's show continued with the build up to that, as well as much more. And to kick things off, we got Joe Hendry right in action, taking on Wesley. The former TNA champ had a big size and power advantage, but Lee is known for being agile to counter size with speed and agility, but Hendry took control early and was able Lee was able to regain and gain the upper hand with a flurry of fast-paced moves. When we returned from the break, Hendry was back in the driver's seat and using his strength to throw Lee around. Mike Talent and Santana showed up and ended up stopping Lee's cohorts from getting involved. Hendry won a moment later with his finisher to end a pretty solid encounter. This was the perfect opening match because it was fun, but left a lot of room for what comes now to be even better. So yeah, 6 out of 10 from me. We then got Luca Crucifino, who came out and said he wanted to pull all of the rest, so he asked Tony D to join him in the ring. Luca laid out all the ways he'd been loyal to Tony D until Stacks came out. He ended up laying both men out with big right hands and said loyalty to himself before leaving. I think that's a really good move, to be honest. I think Luca's super talented. Having him on his own, maybe creating a three-way feud, could work nicely. Before we got Lexis King taking on Mars Bourne, only Pride online. Lexis King no longer the Heritage Cup champion, of course. It's pretty evenly matched. They had good back and forth fights. Hard to predict who would come away with the win, but it wasn't very long. Bourne won with his finisher, celebrated the crowd, and competitive, solid enough match, but pretty short, 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Thea Hale versus Lainey Reed. Obviously Lainey a bit of a newcomer against Thea Hale, who's looking to gain momentum. Hale came out of the gate hot, but Reed quickly grounded her after surviving the initial salvo. Reed tried to shortcut and use the rope for a pin, but the ref caught her. A few moments later, she did it again and got away with it to score the win. There wasn't much to this. Both competitors looked good with what they did. It just didn't have much meat on the bone, so to speak. So yeah, for that reason, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Before Izzy, Damon, Peyton, Paxley represented the culling this week in a tag match against Zarya and Sol Ruka. Paxley seemed conflicted because she still considered Ruka and Zarya to be friends. Ruka and Zarya took control right away, but ducking a pair of clotheslines and sending their opponents out of the ring. Paxley fought out of a waistlock with a backflip and made the tag to Izzy so they could double team Ruka. They fought through the break into the next segment, so this match had a lot more to it than the 2 bouts that preceded it. For a match with such a new Joe, this ended up being a lot more fun than expected. All 4 women brought a lot of energy to the ring, and it's obvious how much they wanted to impress with their performance. Paxley saved Dame from a spear from Zarya, which caused her to hit Ruka by mistake. This led to Dame hitting a powerbomb on Ruka for the win. And yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I thought this was a really fun match, to be honest. For me, probably the right result, and an intriguing little story in there as well. So yeah, worked nicely, 7 out of 10. Moving on then to Jasper Troy versus Yokishi Inamura, and they did battle as the number 1 contender for the NXT Championship. Inamura is a big guy, but Troy dwarfed him in size. He quickly took control and grounded him for a 2 count very early. Overflame was shown watching backstage as Inamura made a comeback. He used some same moves at one point, but that just served to make Troy angrier. Unsurprisingly, this was a hard-hitting fight. Troy is still gaining experience, but Inamura helped to keep everything moving in the right direction. In a slightly unexpected outcome, Inamura ended up scoring a win with a huge bash from the top rope and will fight firmly for the title at the Great American Bash. So yeah, I'm going to get a 7 out of 10. For me, the right result, and I think big win for Inamura, and I think Troy's obviously still got time. So yeah, 7 out of 10. This week's NXT ended with a promo segment with Jordan Grace and JC Jane to help file their match for Evolution. Predictably, it turned into a fight. Fatal Influence had a numbers advantage, but Blake Monroe made a save. Ava came out and booked a tag match for next week. Monroe and Grace ended the show standing tall. Yeah, good little combo that, and a fun way to end the show. It's obviously kind of the way we expected it, but I think it sets up a decent match next week as well. So yeah, not bad. And overall, NXT this week gets a 6 out of 10 from me. It kind of felt like a building week towards the Gab. Some few interesting bits in there, but nothing really too major to keep an eye on. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It was solid enough without being a particularly memorable episode of TV. Hey guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.